Okay, we're going to look in reading today at the poem that you were looking at yesterday. You'll notice on your copy that you've only got 3 verses, there's some verses missing. What I'd like you to do is to listen to me read it and follow it through. So, at one time, this valley of heaven, became a most tortuous valley of hell. For the fighting was bitter, the Hun held on grimly, regardless of losses, and many men fell. For the British came north, and the silence was shattered by rifle, machine gun, trench mortar, grenade. The Messerschmitt diving brought sickening terror. The valley vibrated with death's serenade. But the British advanced, and the valley was taken. The fighting moved northward as Jerry moved back, and the only remains to give proof of the fighting are the freshly dug graves at the side of the track. Okay. Why do you think the contrast between these 3 verses is so important?
Because they're talking about the war, and it goes in the middle. It's just different to the main thing.
Yeah. So come on. What's the what makes that important? What's the contrast? What's the first verse? What scene is that setting? What's happening there? Think of it like in a time order. What is that first verse?
Like a turn, like from something good to something bad.
Yeah. So what's happening there in that first verse then? Would you say what's happening there?
It's like really nice, and it's going to like a massive battle.
Yeah, because what's happening? Because this is before, isn't it?
Mm.
This is the first bit. This is the before, and it's that calm, isn't it? So then what happens? So what's in the contrast? So we're going from that first verse. What happens in the second verse? What's the contrast? Why is that important? What happens?
It's saying about what it was like during the battle.
So we've got the before, then we've got the during. So what about the last verse then?
It's just like the first one, but just when you change a little bit.
So what's the difference? So we've got before, we've got during. So what's this? The last verse after. That's the difference, isn't it? That's the contrast between the 3. Okay. Is the poem then effective without the calm and peaceful aspect?
Yeah.
So if I read it though all the way through with the bits missing, which is calmer, is that just as effective, do you think? Or do you think it's more effective with the calmer than missing parts? What do we think?
With the missing parts.
Do you think more with the missing parts? Why do you think that then?
I think it's more with the missing parts because it's got more of a difference between an emoji, like.
And you have that contrast, don't you?
Yeah.
And also when you read it, if I stood and read it from all of the poem, you would see how that's a lot more calmer, isn't it? And it's talking about silence, isn't it? Where it's silent, which is referring to the fact that it's peace. Okay, and we're at peace. And then it builds up, doesn't it? Then you have the part in the middle, and then it goes off. Okay. How do you think then, if you were reading this aloud, how would you read it aloud? What do we think? Why is it important? What's important? So if I was going to read you the poem aloud now, what would you give me? What top tips would you give me? What would I do? Would I just stand here and at one time this valley of heaven became a most tortuous valley of hell, the fighting was bitter, the Hun held on grenade, regardless of losses and many men fell. What would I do? Give me an example.
We couldn't help you. We couldn't hear you, and you was too quiet.
Okay, so I was too quiet, so I need to project my voice. What else do I need to think about? I'm too quiet. What else?
Personally, I thought I didn't bring the excitement or anything. It was just very dull.
It was really dull. So why was it dull though? What made it dull?
You didn't have like the tones and
tone. I didn't pitch it, did I? Okay, what else could I do?
You could do a bit more facial expressions just to show people like it's exciting or sad or anything like that.
Yeah, okay. What else?
Like you could change the speed of how you're saying it, like the movement on the video.
Yeah, I could, definitely. These, I'm trying to think what it's called. Intonation, isn't it? It's about the speed and the rhythm and the pitch and my tone and how I went faster on these certain bits. And then when it got to the bit about the verse where it's going about the silence was shattered, making that impact, isn't it? Which then creates, and that's me using that expression as well, isn't it? Which again links onto that emotion and how it makes you feel.
Also confident, like you're actually there and not just like pretending it happens.
Yeah, and actually having some gusto and some belief in it and delivering it. What about my audience? Do you think that's an important thing I need to think about? Who I was actually delivering this to? Who I was reading the poem to? Do you think that's important? Yeah. Do you think I could have gone into maybe a reception class and stood there and used loads of expression and raised my voice up and down and was booming? Do you think that's very different to how I would do it to you guys in a 5-6 class? Yeah, it depends on your audience, doesn't it? So how you, because I'm performing this to you, aren't I? Yeah? And we call it a performance poem. That's what it is. So, what you are going to be doing is, you are going to be learning a verse from this poem. And you're going to learn the verse, so you're going to practice it. And you're going to practice it so you know it by heart. Okay? You're then going to perform this. So, like we said, you need to think about your audience, how you need to project your voice. I think someone said to me like that. Intonation, and be aware of your rhythm and your punctuation. I just stood there and went, there was no punctuation, was there? No at all. Okay? For the children at home, they need to record it so that we don't necessarily have to see your face, but we need to hear you. And that is what we're going to do in class today. Okay? So it's a performance poem and you are going to deliver it with those key things.